Two berries.
Two berries.
That sounds like a TV show.
Oh, you spotlighted me. That means it's time for me to talk
now.
Yeah. Okay, let me find my spot. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Connect Show. We join each week to celebrate small business owners like you and would like to give you the resources you need to be successful.
It is important to recognize the challenges we face and have the support from our community. And Tracy and I will be hosting a new networking event each week on Friday mornings. And it's the Epic Networking event, and that's 10 a.m. Central Time on Fridays.
And if you're in the Zoom room, please put your contact information in the chat. And if you're watching not on Zoom right now, put your contact information in what is it called? In the comments of the post. Yes, the comments of the post. And if you're not already following us, please do on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebooks, and reach out to us at theideas@theconnectshow.com.
And like and subscribe. If you are watching the replay or watching this live, all of those things help us reach a wider audience, and we surely appreciate it. And today, we're going to be viewing some of the highlights of the last few months. So, Tracy, what is something that really stood out for you? One or two things of this past 6 months that's really stood out for you, or a guest?
Well, a couple of things stood out. I'd say the guests the show where we had the two guests come on with the Christmas gifts, giving away the graphic design gifts and giving away the 12 days of Christmas or whatever those Christmas boxes were.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty fun because that made us kind of feel like really like a morning show. That was pretty cool. And another thing that stood out was when you and Kim went over to do Jen's Sweet Treats video, and Kim took the stage and acted like it was like her favorite place to be. That was pretty cool too. So we're discovering all these little talents and ideas. So that's kind of fun.
Kim rocked it. I thought that was a pretty amazing. One thing that stood out for me is in the beginning, and we're going to touch on this because I think we have every guest who's ever been on the show is going to be on the show today. But in the beginning, when we talked about falling in love with your future story, and creating goals, and Chris Rivera and Eleanor and Serena and Krista all talked about, really getting clear on your future goal, a lot of clarity, embracing what that looks like, understanding it, feeling it. And an interesting story that I heard was that the legend of Jim Carrey, the famous comedian, is he used to go to the Hollywood Hills and write himself a check for $10 million, and he'd feel himself getting that check, and he'd feel himself having that success when he was just, grinding it out in the comedy clubs. And so this idea of embracing your future success it's real and it's proven, people do it. And that made a lot of impact on me because that's something that I've been doing for the past couple of months, and getting, just really granular on the clarity. So I love it.
That's awesome.
Are you ready to watch a movie, Tracy?
Is it a movie length?
It's the story of our life. No.
First, before you do the movie, I think you need to remind everybody what our Fusion event is about on the 25th.
We do need to do that, and that was so good. The Fusion event is January 25th, and there are going to be 9 presenters who give 10-minute segments, and they're teach it, do it. So they're going to be creating these brand new presentations that are 10 minutes long, and then you're going to have an opportunity to do it and ask questions. So the whole show, the whole Fusion show, is going to take you on a journey from being stuck, starting, to accelerating your business. What are some of the things that we can look forward to, Tracy?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty hands-on event. And if our plan goes as like we wanted to, it will be virtual and in person. So that will be exciting. It starts at 1 o'clock, goes until 4. And I think you can expect to leave pretty mentally exhausted, but also at the same time, look optimistic, like looking forward to putting all those things into place that you just learned. So that's my take on what we're creating.
I love it. I love it. I love your sparkly New Year's Eve background.
Well, thanks, because I like the sparkles.
I know, but it looks very rich. You know, very, very New Year's Eve, elegant New Year's Eve. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the first show?
I'm ready.
So holler at me. We're gonna do a little bit of help from everyone. Group project. If you can't hear the volume or something looks weird, yell at me, because on my end it all looks perfect. But you'll have to help me out.
That reminds me of the book that I'm reading, the Think and Grow Rich book, where they were just talking about how you can repel the negativity. So it just reminds me of what you were just talking about, where you stay on your vision, and then you say yes to one thing and no to the other thing, because you know the one thing isn't going to get you closer to your vision. And I was reading your LinkedIn, and you said, in truth, success lives within everyone. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple, Tracy. People all too often are looking external to themselves for the definition of success. Like, John, I want you to tell me, and then Tracy, you tell me what success is, and maybe I'll believe one of them and I'll go with it. Success is right here. You determine in your life what success is, and that's why I say it is an inside-out journey. The story on the inside becomes the journey on the outside. So I determine what is success for me, and then I go live it. And you might look at me and say, she'd be more successful over here. But that's your perspective. And I just say, so here we sit in Wauwatosa. What if we just took everyone in Wauwatosa, put them through core mining to get solid on who they are at the core, loving who they are, and then what is success for them? And then they go live it. Our world will be a whole lot different.
So our topic today is mindset, and that's part of why you're here today. So what does your morning routine look like that gets you off on the right foot every day?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing is the mornings is me time. I do have 3 young boys, and they're in various activities and sports. So I like to get up early. I like to do some physical activity. I practice jiu-jitsu and judo, so I'll get up and do that a couple times a week. If I'm not doing that, I will try and do some weightlifting or some cardiovascular stuff outside when it's warm out. But then also take some time to reflect and really start practicing gratefulness. So I have a gratitude practice where I just kind of sit in the silence and think about what I'm grateful for that day.
So we just spoke with Krista and talked about getting your own values in alignment. And she talked about grounding your own values, which I thought was a really interesting place to start. I always thought you need to be exactly like your ideal client. But tell us about the code, and I think that's going to shed some light on our values.
Yeah, and I loved what Krista had to say about the values and knowing who you are. And it's very important to know who you are. And it's also, so if you think of people's values like operating systems and that they all speak different languages, you want to have enough respect for the other person to understand where they're coming from and understand what information they need to process. So that's what the codes do, is gives you the ability to understand who that person is and then be able to communicate and give them the information they need. Like if you were going to a foreign country, would you expect all of them to change how they speak because you weren't willing to learn the language of the place you were going?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you have an acronym, SLAY, and can you walk
Slay.
us through that?
Sounds kind of powerful.
It does.
Slay.
And-
Yes,
Yes.
I would love to walk you through that.
Mm-hmm.
From my experience, and one of the reasons why I really got passionate about wanting to coach business speakers is that when we get this opportunity in front of the room, we've got to respect that space. We're taking up time. And what I typically see is, yes, you're an expert in your field. So you get up there and you say it. And you just kind of, wing it and ad lib it. And I like to say, don't do that. Don't just say it. You want to slay it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that stand for?
All right.
First of all, the S in slay is for stop.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a crazy busy world. And if you want to get people off their cell phones, maybe looking at, their TikTok reels, you've got to hook them in.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine it just like a fish. You get that little nibble on your line,
Mm-hmm.
and that fish is now on there. And then you've got to make sure it doesn't let go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the stop is. You've got to get your audience to stop and pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And a really good hook opening is one of the ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have their attention. The L is get them to listen. And how you get to them to listen is you share a problem that's related to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make that connection right away with the audience before they really care anything about you or what you may offer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the A is now they can ask, how does this relate to my business? How can I apply this to my business?
Mm-hmm.
So the application part is really important. And all of these are similar in a TED Talk too.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is to get them to say, yes, I want to know more, or I'm going to talk to Jon right after this meeting because what he talked about was right on point and I need him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between just winging it and creating a strategic plan around slaying it.
So if you use NLP to reprogram somebody, do you change the habit and then the habit is changed, or do you have to repeat the process or get like a booster hypnosis every now and again?
Well, a lot of it, what it is, we just go dig in and we look and see where anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt has been trapped in your programming. There's a saying, give me the child before the age of 7, I'll give you the man. So 90% of our unconscious mind is programmed by the age of 7. The lenses through which we experience life, our parents, grandparents, teachers, coaches, all that stuff by the age of 7 built the foundation of our value system. So then we go off on life and we keep tweaking it. So whatever temper tantrum you had by the age of 7, you still repeat that today. 95% of what you do today is on repeat from when you were 7.
Mm.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So what we do is we go in and say for example, I have a client, he's got a great business. He's got a magic number of 5 million and his sales director's got a magic number of say 45. That, and he's like, and he's fighting with his team. So I need to understand, get into him. It's like, where's your anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt on your timeline embedded? Why did you attract someone whose number is so much bigger than yours? And how do you not even know what his number means to him? So if you're making decisions in your business based on his numbers, what are yours? And so we've just got this misalignment. So allowing them to release any of that baggage that's in there, let them create a smart goal around, the big aim goal, what's the big picture and what's the little micro goals we have to hit to get there. And that's kind of where the hypnosis comes into play. We're creating that vision. They tell me what they want. And then that's when they repeat that over and over.
So your dance, how do you combine your dance and your content creation?
Well, I don't know that I would say I would combine them. Obviously, you mentioned my book. It's called Content That Dances. And I think one of these days you should give my book away. I didn't even think about that.
There we
That
go.
would be awesome.
I'm in for that. So dance for me is really a hobby and something I love. It's my favorite form of sort of creative self-expression. But the reason I bring it into my content and tell some of those stories or, give the book the title that I did is because that's part of who I am. It's part of my personal brand, if you will. And everybody has to figure out what that is for them. So obviously not everyone's going to talk about dance, but what is it for you that you're bringing in that's something personal to you that makes you different in your work, in your communications, in your messaging, in your branding, that makes you unique to you.
That's awesome.
And for me, it's dance, or that's a piece of it.
Hello. Okay, that is a very loud and funky mic. All right. Are we back?
Yes.
Okay, I got to take off the headphones now so I can hear you.
That's all of them? That's all the clicks?
No, that's only the first segment. We're gonna do
Oh.
each little segment.
I was gonna say, because you led me to believe we were gonna be here for like an hour watching these because we have so much
Oh
stuff.
no, yeah, we have 3 more of these to go.
Cool. Because that was pretty fun.
Yeah, except my camera's out of focus. Anyways, yes, Kim, I agree. And what did you think about that? What did you think about the first segment? Any comments? Or you just want to roll the second one?
I want to say
Maybe
hi
we
to
could-
Sarah. I don't have any questions or comments. I think it's pretty cool though. It's bringing back all the memories of all the stuff that we've done so far.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun. You know, it was a lot of fun putting it together, and it's interesting to see just like the different episodes and how how everything has changed. So
And it kind of there was a lot of little gems of info that we gained during that, and some of that stuff I've forgotten. So it's kind of nice reminder.
I think this episode with all of the highlights is like a gold mine of goodness for everyone, and hopefully I put it in an order that is somewhat of a progression where, you know, we talked about, you know, a lot of mindset, and then as we go along we'll talk about more strategy and implementation.
Kim's like, I think this will be my favorite to rewatch
On the YouTubes.
on the YouTubes.
Wow, my mic sounds really weird on here, but anyways, I can hear
think
my
sound fine over
radio
here.
voice. I have a lot of radio voice going on. Hey now, welcome to the Smooth Sounds of the Connect Show. Next up is segment 2. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What best practices can you share about being a podcast guest and how it differs from being a presenter or guest speaker?
When you're a guest speaker, the biggest difference there is the interview format. So that goes back to that first thing that I mentioned, which is your story. You can call it your signature story, your brand story, whatever it is. You have to have that nailed. You have to know exactly the points you need to get across on this. But as a podcast guest, you're doing it. It's kind of a dance with the host, and it's got to be in a conversational format. And you're kind of negotiating the meaning of all this and creating this conversation based on the questions they're asking you. So it's a little bit like ballroom dancing, you know, backwards and in heels sort of thing. You know what it is you need to achieve, but you've got to do it within the confines of the format of the show and the questions that the host is asking you, keeping it light, keeping it interesting. Again, that's why you need to know the host, the show, and what it is you need to say.
So you have the 3 Ps, and then you also have proof.
Right.
Talk about your proofs.
Absolutely. Working with businesses, as I talked about earlier, as a business grows and scales, the challenges change. You know, what got you from I have an idea to I'm actually, you know, somebody bought it. And from that idea, we call that foundation, from foundation to growth, and from growth to scale. Those are 3 different journeys for a business owner and a business to make. And you've heard the line, what got you here won't get you there. Mm-hmm. So what it takes to get to foundation is different than what it takes to get to growth and what it takes to get to scale. And so that proof of model, the proof of concept model is if you're a foundation, we've got proof of market. You have a thing that people are buying. If you have not sold one of your thing yet, we don't have any market. We haven't proved out that there's a market for your idea, your product, your service.
I do like the part where you're talking about be the person that they enjoy being around instead of delivering the boring information, the logic, being in the, what you said, was it the brown box? That
Yes.
resonates a lot with what coaches say and what they talk about being yourself or authentic. And so outside of prayer and meditation, which we kind of already talked about a little bit, but how else can we increase our buying energy?
The big thing is, and I think you touched on it a little there, is actually give a bit of you and how you will work with them. And the language is what we will do together and what you will get from working with us. Because a lot of people in the process leading up to the conversation is, here's some more information about me. And I think we're going to get onto it, but I'm I'm a sprinter, I go fast and I always jump ahead. So I'm going to do it anyway. There are 3 levels of influence when you're in selling. There's the imposed influence. And that's what most people are taught to do. I'm going to impose knowledge on you. I'm going to impose my influence on you to get you to buy. Now, that's the typical present and pitch that everybody's taught. We're going to present all this great information, hope they've got a lot of good information so they make a buying decision. The next level is collaborative influence. And that is when you actually sit and work together on a solution. You co-create. And the golden rule is when they're involved, they invest. And there's lots of neuroscience about writing on screens and all of this that we teach on how you can collaborate more. The thing, particularly with Zoom, 83% of all people on Zoom calls are multitasking. True, that's a fact. They've done the studies. So if you're just doing a present, possibly having a conversation, chances are that they're just watching a few slides and doing something else. When you're collaborating, asking, getting them involved, how would this, and then quantifying, then you're actually going to make a massive, massive difference. And the last one is self. And you'll get to a point in the conversation where they will see that the value is going to be so much greater than what they're going to believe that they will pay. Then they will get to a point and say, hey, Steve, this is fantastic. How do we get started? And when you can get to, which we got with most of our people, 60% are asking to buy because they've collaborated, they take ownership and say, I want what we have just created. That's a great way of the conversation. And that is collaborate and confirm. You collaborate, create, confirm, and it's like, yep, the next steps are. So increasing the buying energy by really involving them, and not just in a pseudo way, but really getting them to quantify the value that you're going to be delivering and annotating it in front of them, writing it in front of them so it all adds up through the eyeballs.
I just saw a movie and they talked about the winner effect. Like if you win, your brain thinks that you're going to win and it creates like a habit of winning. And when you break through that fear, what can we do for a small win every day to kind of create that winning effect of breaking through and getting past those hindrances?
Think of it as winning momentum. So there was a time when I was in California and I was overwhelmed with all of the work that I needed to do, and I was constantly beating myself up. Didn't do this. I'd be in the shower and be like, oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And just constantly not feeling like I was doing enough or that I was messing up all the time. And at one point, my mind went, I can't handle this anymore. My mind said, stop beating yourself up. I'm going to have a breakdown if this continues. And so after that happened, I just focused on progress, not perfection. And it was whenever I started to beat myself up or I started to think about the things I wasn't doing or I was feeling down about not doing well enough in my own self-imposed expectations, I would say progress, not perfection. And I would just keep saying it over and over again, kind of like a crazy person, until I started to internalize it. progress, not perfection, progress, not perfection, progress, not perfection. And I would repeat it until I really put myself in that mode. And then I would say, okay, how am I making progress right now? What action can I take to make progress right now? And every time I took that step, that was a win. So building that winning momentum of just knowing the object is not perfection or to be there, because there's no there, but it's about making continual progress.
How often, you talked a little bit about the schedule. So, how often is that? Are we doing that every day, or, should somebody use an automation tool?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the platforms are always changing, and you're going to get the most engagement if you post directly on the platforms versus using some of the automation tools and scheduling tools. In my opinion, there's always trade-offs. If you want the greatest engagement and you have the most time, do it directly on the platforms. If you are just getting started and you just need to try to make it as simple as possible, scheduling it and getting started that way might make sense for you. That you may not get as much engagement, but you're getting it done. You're showing up. You're building your content library and stuff so that people are going out there and seeing that you're there consistently and what you're all about. Typically, a lot of my clients, I think it depends on what industry you're in. For most of my clients, if they're doing 2 or 3 days a week to start with, that's great. That's fantastic. And we'll talk about some ideas of what that might look like. As you keep building and doing more, maybe you get up to that 5 days a week. But you also don't want to be inundating people in certain markets so much that they're like, okay, now you're turning me off, that every time I turn on, I just get another post about you that's promotional. So making sure that mix too of what you're sharing isn't all promotional content, that it is those things of how am I giving back in the community, who am I as an individual, those other types of content that you're putting out there as well.
I think mixing it up too might be good too. Like if you do schedule some of them, schedule 2 or 3 of them, but then throw in something totally random to help with your engagement.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect example of like, how do you incorporate the real-time posts into that content as well?
Well, let's see if this works. There we go. Hey.
Yay!
This is kind of fun, isn't it?
It's totally fun.
I'm digging it. Except I think our next one is already starting. Okay, we have to back that up.
Maybe we can ask some people in our Zoom room what they're thinking about how this looks or what they're getting out of it.
You should.
Kim, I'm going to pick on you first.
Of course you are. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of always really feel what Ariel's saying. And I loved her, was it progress, not perfection? Like I need to remember that all the time. Got to remember that. Because it's kind of like what we say with Small Business Milwaukee that, and I can't even think of it because I just drew a blank.
Collaboration.
Done is better than
perfect.
And life kind of sometimes just comes at you and you just have to get stuff done. Like you just got to get it done. So yeah, that's where you got me this morning.
See, I don't even know how to type it right.
She can't even type it.
But I got it done.
Done is better than better than perfect. It's
Done
great.
Too.
Hey, Barry, how are you feeling about this show today? Anything sticking out for you?
Well, yeah, this is good that you guys did these highlights because now I'm going to go look up these specific shows on YouTube and watch in more detail. So it's good that you highlighted, some points. And one thing I want to talk about the progress and perfection too. If you look at this way, if you always want to get something perfect, then you probably never get things done because until it's perfect, you say, okay, I'm going to wait 5 years until it's perfect. But by that time, you've lost everything, right? So I like that concept, right? Progression is better than perfect. If you progress one little step, right? Just a little tiny step, and you progress another step, maybe you'll eventually get to your end point, may not be perfect, but you've completed your goal, right? So
And
that's what I got out
most
of
of-
Ariel. Yeah.
And most of the time, your idea of perfect changes in the middle of getting to that. Like it'll change.
Yep, that's right. So that's my comments here. Thank you for the highlights.
Awesome. Karen.
Well, I'm really enjoying this. And part of me says, oh, let's learn more about that. And then we go to the next one. So I
Take
have
notes.
I have a lot of notes from the previous shows, okay, from the longer segments. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a look at those notes. And then I can also go to YouTube. And I definitely want to go back and I want to watch today's episode so that I know who I want to look at first. You know, what fits in with where I'm at with what I'm doing right now. So I'm really enjoying this. This is wonderful.
Awesome. Sarah. I always say Sarah's name with a little bit of a song sound.
I don't know. I just have to echo what everybody else says. It's neat just getting the snippets. A lot of the episodes I was on, so it's a good refresher, reinforcement of things like progress, not perfection. I say practice imperfect. So that's where I play. It's similar, same concept. Just showing up as my messy, imperfect self, and it's usually better than my worst fears, which, yeah. And kind of like what Karen was saying, like I'm in a little bit of a place of protecting myself from information overload right now, because I tend to want to just learn more, do more, learn, read, listen, watch, all the things. And I need to not do that because then I don't actually act on any of it. So I am also just sitting back and just sort of enjoying it wash over me and not trying to go back or do or, put a lot more on myself because of it.
Yeah, that is important because otherwise you become too informed and then you do nothing.
I think progress is, instead of progress, not perfection, is so important because for me, in video editing, there's a thing that everybody talks about that you can edit forever. Like editing is done when you decide that it's done. There's not an endpoint to video editing because you can continually adjust colors and chop and add more and analyze a scene. And I think with anything that we do, whether it's social media or creating anything, you can just create content forever and never actually post it because you're trying to perfect it or you're trying to get that message out. And when you look back at it, I think especially in the beginning, you look back at it as I have to create this post that has to be perfect and it has to be just so. And then when you post it, you realize that it's not that big of a deal and that you should have just spent a day on it instead of a week. And then you could have made 5 posts instead of just 1. And, it's the progress but not perfection also reminds me of the journey, where sometimes we're so focused on the goal that we forget that the journey is where all of the growth happens. When you accomplish it, you don't go, oh, now I'm accomplished and now I've grown so much. You're like, no, I've accomplished this and I grew so much from the
Now
journey.
I got to do more.
Yeah, right?
Never ends.
Never ends. So we are on to segment number 3. I should have labeled these better than segments, right? I could have called this like the super snappy saver section on being a great human being. Yeah. Okay. No, stop talking.
Progress, not perfection.
You know, it sounds like what you're talking about is being that authentic, genuine self and being your real self with your customers.
100%. It's also giving your customers direction so that they can make decisions to get to the destination, which is partnership with you, which is finding their future successful selves, etc. So one of the questions that I love to ask people when I meet with them, which, by the way, anyone listening right now, if you'd like to get on my calendar to talk about what your future successful self looks like, it's just bridgethum.me. bridgethum.me. You can get on my calendar, we can have a quick chat, and we can get you some direction based on where you want your destination to be. So bridgethum.me gets you on my calendar. Anyway, in talking about that, the one question that I ask people, and this will serve anyone listening who is in the Zoom world, who is working with clients, working with anyone, you say, I'm curious, when you thought about us meeting today, what was your thought? Because in asking that, you honor their intention. You honor the space that you are creating together. And then you can give direction to the conversation. See, I do 30-minute meetings because I have noticed that in 30 minutes, you can honor everyone's intention involved. I'm curious, when you thought about us meeting today, what was your thought?
How much time, this is the biggest question that we always get, and I'm sure you get it too. How much time does it take? You know, the people talk about being on social, and the first thing that people say is, I'm busy. I got a life, I got kids, they're in school, they're not in school, all these things going on. You know, how much time does it take to implement a good social media strategy, and where should people start?
Yeah, social media, like anything, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, of course. But I am a firm believer, and I do a lot of public speaking and writing on the fact that you can master your social media in 20 minutes a day. So a brand, if they have a plan and if they stick to it, I genuinely believe can master their social in 20 minutes a day through the very simple goal of selling. And in this case, SELL is an acronym for share, engage, listen, learn. Those are the 4 things that you need to do on a weekly basis. Share, post content. Engage, literally talk to your audience. Listen is social listening. What is your audience talking about? What are the influencers in your space, the press in your space, your competitors, what are they talking about? And then learn is checking your analytics. Because if you're talking at your audience and not checking your analytics, you're talking at them, you're not talking with them. You have no idea what's working well if you're not checking in. Your audience is regularly telling you what content they like and what content they don't. But if you're not checking your analytics, you're ignoring them. So by doing sharing, engaging, listening, and learning on an ongoing basis, week in and week out, I genuinely believe in 20 minutes a day, you can have a solid social program. Not award-winning, but solid. It keeps the ball rolling. There are other components, of course, that go into it. You have to create systems. Blogging is super important, and we can talk about all that if you'd like. But yeah, those are the 4 pieces that go into day-to-day daily management of a social channel that doesn't make you neglect your kids or your business or your personal health to make sure that your social channels are still moving along.
I can do 20 minutes a day. That's good. I like it.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Do you have one networking tip that you could give everybody today before we sign off?
I got so many, but the one that probably resonates the most is think of networking as, being reciprocal, having that give and take. Because I attend a lot of events in person, I attend a lot of events online, I host quite a few events. And I think the key thing is when you meet someone, to ask questions about them, use the forum technique: family, occupation, recreation, motivation. And you ask people questions in those different categories, learn more about them, and find out what do they need. What do they need for their business, or to improve, or to make more money, to be more successful, or to meet the right audience. So I guess the biggest takeaway is focus on helping others first before you ask for anything in return, and it's amazing how if you focus on helping other people in the room, and even if it's just an introduction or whatever, then all of a sudden people want to help you. Then they're actually knocking themselves over each other to try and help you because you're helping everybody else first. And it's really key, because think of all the events that you go to or you meet people and they're putting a business card in your face, Be like, here, call me. Here's how great I am, and then they walk away. You're like, okay, whatever, It's like, so you got to focus on helping others first, and then everything else kind of falls into place after that.
Awesome. That sounds exciting for me because I'm a female. So you talk about getting caught, you talk about getting caught up in the delivery trap, trading dollars for hours. Can you tell us more about that?
So, I mean, I've personally experienced this firsthand. I presume a lot of the people on the show have probably experienced this too. So many business owners, we start our businesses because we're really good at delivering a specific service. In one of my first businesses, I was a communications consultant. In this business, I was a coach. So I had these technical skills and I was good at coaching, or prior to that, good at doing communications consulting. And that's what I was paid to do. And so I was really sort of self-employed, exchanging money for services rendered type of thing. And that worked great for a certain amount of time. And then ultimately what I found is that I was starting to get a little bit burnt out. I would sort of market and sell, land a couple of contracts or a couple of clients, and then all of a sudden my calendar was booked serving those clients and doing the delivery work. The contracts would complete, and then I was back on the hamster wheel again, marketing and selling. And so this was really tiring for me at the time. My two sons, they're now 11 and 15. They were a lot younger. They required a lot more time and attention and care, just being very hands-on. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And so I saw that other entrepreneurs were stuck in this delivery trap as well. So one of the things that I started to look at is how business owners get out of that trap. I started looking at what are SaaS founders doing? What are entrepreneurs who have non-service-based businesses doing? And what I saw time and again is that they were investing in assets. They were creating assets, and that their businesses were growing through their assets rather than through their labor. And so that's ultimately where I really started to focus my attention, not only in my business, but also in the work that I do with founders.
And you're back.
I'm back. Are you back?
Hmm?
Good deal. Yeah, the music is kind of funky, right? That's our theme song.
It is.
It is. And that's great. That's just great.
Eleanor Beaton, I really like how she really talks about that struggle that a lot of people have. She just articulates it so well.
She's some of her content out there is labeled as the clarity queen. And
yeah, she does. She's very good at defining her message. Like it comes across really well.
And she talks about how you can define your message and get clarity on what you do. And that's what I really like about what content that she puts out, because I think it becomes like all the questions are answered once you have that clarity. If you're saying, gosh, I don't know what I should post about, or I don't know what I should be doing for marketing, it's because you don't have clarity of your 1 year from now, what your business is, what you're going to be doing 3 years from now, where you're going. And so then you have no idea what the heck to talk about.
Yeah. So many good guests we had. It's awesome.
It is. Should we, next is the super clarifying, embrace your future self wonderful episode.
Oh, you got a title for it this time.
I tried. It sucks, but we're just putting them out there.
I think we're ready. We're ready.
I got a thing, I get to a point, I make a certain amount of money, I get to a certain amount of busyness, and then it just kicks in. I know it's there. I'm aware of it. I don't know if they have a solution yet, but it shows up in the form of maybe not emailing people as quickly as I should, or getting in contact with people about an upcoming event, all these different ways that it shows up. What do you suggest with people who are cursed with this affliction, how they can deal with it?
Let me answer that with an analogy. The analogy of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, in this case, what comes first, the seeing or the believing? What story are you telling yourself? Because as I'm listening to you talking, you're explaining what happens when you get to a certain amount of money. You're explaining all the things that are going to happen. And so that story that you're telling yourself, that's what ends up becoming your belief system. And once it's your belief system, now you begin to see it manifest in your life. Because we don't do what we know, we do what we believe. And so if you believe you're going to hit a certain level and then top out there, and then it's downhill from there, you're going to see that manifest in your life. So I encourage you, what belief system or what story do you want to tell yourself? That's the story that's going to create your life. And you can change that story at any given moment.
So Sales Navigator definitely helps on LinkedIn. Most people don't know about Sales Navigator. They think it's completely separate from LinkedIn, but the tool that LinkedIn provides with more filtered, just more filters in order to find that target audience. You can filter through company head size. You can filter through how long someone has had an experience working at a certain company, things of that sort. But the hyper targeting on LinkedIn, what we do with Connected as well as Inbox Gorilla is we do Boolean searches, and so it's just really finding the keywords in the titles of the target that you're looking for and putting it onto the LinkedIn head search there, and making sure you're clicking through people, making sure you're targeting the right industries, the right keywords, locations, things of that sort. You really have to tone in on who you're trying to find, who you're trying to target on LinkedIn. Keywords meaning anything else that's on their profile. I tell my clients, find some sort of relatability, right, with the prospect that you're reaching out to, and make sure you understand their titles. I think that's the key component. A lot of the time people overlook that. It's what people have on their headline, on their profile, is what's going to really help you find them a lot better. Same thing for yourself. If you want people to find you, you have to update your headline on your profile to make sure that people can find you for when they're searching for those specific keywords.
What is the last reason that you have on why people don't spend more time on themselves?
We're kind of back to that, spending an hour meditating each day. People think that self-improvement has to be something arduous and not enjoyable. And we spend 80% of our lives in process. We were talking a lot about mindset earlier in the show, which is a perfect segue. I think anything that you accomplish in life is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. And changing your mindset, it should not be difficult. If you're going to spend 80% of your life in process doing something and only 20% when you reach the goals, the most important thing is enjoying that process. I have a friend who owns Peak Physique Fitness, and I went to start getting in shape, obviously, in turn for the new year. And I asked him, I said, what is the best exercise to do? And I was expecting him to say, well, the rowing machine uses so many muscles, and, or walking is healthy. And he said, the best exercise you can do is the one you enjoy the most. And why? Because you're most likely to stick with it. The same thing goes for your mental fitness as well. If you're looking to improve your life, it is most important to start with something that you enjoy. I have many different things to choose from that are all customizable in my books, and they're fun because once you gain that momentum and you start with something small you enjoy, you're more apt to bridge off from there and start incorporating other aspects that could improve your life.
That's interesting that they want you to, that is true. They want you to stay on the platform, but as a business owner, your goal is to try to get them to go to your website or whatever it is that you're offering. So it's kind of have to mix it up a little bit, I think. So that leads to my next question. That leads to my next question about selling on social media. So do you think it's good to sell on social media, or should you just build the relationships on social media and not sell that often?
Well, you need to, everything is selling. First of all, like you are selling just in building that relationship and having them understand and learn from you. That comes back to the 21 to 30 touch points. But yes, you need to lead people off of that platform. You just need to be strategic in how you do it. Don't, and we should all know this by now, with Facebook went down, 9 hours one day and 5 hours another. There's so many people that build their business on a social media platform. And that is where they run everything. And that's where, and I have a client that does this, and I'm hoping that she finally will stop. But I'm like, if Facebook disappears, you have nothing. All that you built is gone. So you need to be driving them off onto either a call that you can add them to your database, or to a mailing list, because you own that email list. You own nothing on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. You don't own any of that. You may have filmed the videos, but they own it once you upload it, and they can do what they want with it, and they can disappear in a minute. So when you're selling, you need to make that connection, because like I said, people buy from people with solutions. They're not looking for products, they're looking for solutions to what's going on. But you need to have ways, and there's ways of putting it in your profile, of sharing a link every once in a while, of having a discussion in your comments and inviting them to a one-to-one. Networking. Social media is just a part of that figure. And you can't not sell, because then there's the other extreme where people are just posting funny memes and, like cat videos. And they're like, oh, everybody loves me. I have 20,000 followers, but nobody knows what you sell. So it's like, I want to buy from you, but I don't understand what you're selling. So it's a fine line in between, but I think one thing we need to remember is that it's called social media. So you need to be social, you need to be engaging, but you need that media that not only attracts people, but helps them understand what you do so that you can serve them.
That's awesome.
We did, or did
we did?
We did?
Yes.
Okay. So how should business owners approach building their business plan?
All right, so it doesn't all have to happen today, okay? So as you build your business plan, this should be over the entire fourth quarter. And really it starts in September. So this is really where I want to spend a little time on, because there's different parts of the business planning process that everyone should be focused on, okay? So the first one, which technically we like to have happen in September, but I'm okay if this happens early October. What we need to be focused on right now, though, is our vision and our long-term goals. And that's like our 3, 5, and 10-year goals for the business. What I don't want us focused on right now is what's going to happen today, what's going to happen by the end of the year. While those are very important, when we're in business planning phase, the vision. And this is where a lot of people really lose where I guess this is the first stage of that business planning process. So if we think our vision is, we got to be thinking bigger, longer term, our big, hairy, audacious goals, right? So like continue to build this out, your long-term vision. Where do you see the business going? Where do you see it shifting? That's the high level internal thoughts that you need to be having with yourself today. The other piece of that is, okay, in the next year, what do I need to do from a macro goal perspective to stay on pace for my 3, 5, and 10-year goal? So that should already be done. And if not done, I would say in the next 2 weeks, really be focused on having a very clear vision, breaking that down. Ask yourself why 2 or 3 times. Why is this my vision? Why is this important? Why is this important to my customer? And continue to drive that down, and then start working backwards and build out our big goals for next year. In October, this is the month that we're approaching, right? So what we should be focused on right now is our KPIs, our key performance indicators. So as a business owner, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team of 100, right? You should be building out KPIs that align with your long-term 3, 5, and 10-year vision and what you have to do next year to achieve that. So your KPIs could be sales conversion. If that's like something that you know is going to drive your business forward, that would be a great KPI in your business. I can get into other examples of KPIs, but KPI building happens in October. As we move forward into November, we want to focus on prioritizing how we're going to go to business. And then in December, we need to start implementing. That change has to start in December. If you have a team, you have to start like getting the team on board, showing them what's going to change, what's going to happen different here. And then come January 1, you're off and running. So you don't want to be behind the 8 ball going into end of January, early February, and you haven't really explained this to your team yet. You're already missing quarter 1 of your goals. That's why this has to happen today.
Oh, sorry.
Got us all dancing.
So that was pretty great with the goals thing you got going on there, huh?
Yeah.
I like it.
It's got me thinking about the big audacious goals now. Big, hairy,
Yeah.
audacious goals.
BAG. I think that's a pretty interesting acronym, kind of.
Is that like
It's
really a
act-
thing, Karen?
It is. We call it a BHAG.
Oh, a BHAG.
Oh.
I like it.
Yeah.
A BHAG. I like it. So Tracy and I talked about, the 1, 3, and 5 year goals and a mastermind. And I think we should refine that idea and bring it to the group and see if we can get more people on board and do that. I think that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, a mastermind where you have to have an accountability partner, and then they have to ask you all the stuff that you didn't do.
Scary, right? Then you have
And you
to
got
do
to
it.
tell them that you didn't do it, which is scarier, telling them or not doing it.
Yeah. Karen's in.
Yeah. Karen's in.
see
Sarah
if we
would
can-
be in. So would Kim. All three. Barry might be in too.
Yeah.
I'm already kind of in with you. I mean, yeah, I'm
Where
already
I go,
there.
she goes. I think it would
And
be
I'm
good to
in,
have
and I'm
a
in with
mastermind.
Kim keeps me accountable.
Apparently, I'm all over the place, you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna brainstorm on that and put something. Brainstorm effective mastermind events so we can really make it effective.
I was thinking of the
See?
acronym for that.
Barry's already in 2 of them.
There we go.
I have accountability with a lot of my colleagues in NECAN, and I would love to have accountability with my colleagues on the Connect show, on Small Biz Milwaukee, because it's business. It's totally different than with NECAN, because I actually have 2 aspects of my passions. And so I really would like accountability. And if I could make just one comment, Jon, I love how you are bringing pieces of mastery a little bit at a time to the Connect show, because to me, what it's doing is wrapping together a little bit at a time, a lot of what Tony Robbins teaches and all the other masters who have been doing this for many years. And it's creating exponential change for so many of us. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, that's very kind.
John's
Thank you.
visions coming to fruition.
Well,
It's almost
surely,
11 o'clock.
yeah, I surely appreciate that. I think I love the energy that we all have and everything that's happening. You know, in the beginning, you talked about Kim being out on the reporter on the go, and I think we should explore that, and maybe do a little remodel on the sets, do a little remodel on the intro and the outro, and do all kinds of fun stuff to make 2022 even better. I'm not a sit around, and I know when I go into other people's businesses, their business looks exactly like it did a year ago, and I have genetically predisposition to rearrange everything all the time, which may be a fault, but let's use it as an asset.
We just have to direct you in the right ways.
That's where that mastermind comes
Yes,
in. Like,
yes.
were you remodeling or were you doing work? It's like, okay.
The energy is good. The energy is good, and the constant wanting to change things up and explore different options is great. I think I suffer from a little bit of that too, but keeping it focused.
And using the same orange, I understand completely.
Consistency. I do like a little consistency.
Yeah,
Hence
the orange thing is, it's very important, and we're gonna make sure that it's FF3355 every time. It's gonna happen. And with that, we're out of time.
If I might pop in, I just want to thank you guys for having me as part of this. It's been a lot of fun. 2021 is in the books for the Connect show, right? We're
Yep.
ready to roll for next year. So I'm excited too. I'm really excited for Fusion. Really excited for Fusion. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Jon and Tracy. It's been fun. This has been my favorite episode for sure. Because now I can really just go get those gems on the YouTubes.
Well, I'll put this out there because then I have to do it. If I don't say it, then I can get away with not doing it. But Tracy and I are going to work on organizing all the content so that you can go to the website and you can just say, you know what, I wish I could improve my LinkedIn, and then you could click on it and find mastery of LinkedIn. Yeah. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't have my future goals planned out, then you could just
Goals. Go find all the goals. Talk. I love it.
Yeah. We're gonna rock.
Get some organization going on.
There you go. We need another spreadsheet, Tracy. Let's make it happen.
Okay. We'll just keep adding them in there. Hey, and you know what we discovered the other day when we were having a meeting? Why doesn't Google have it where you can just click the little plus sign on the bottom and you can add a page to like your Word thing, but it could be Excel or it could be slides or it could be any other dang Google thing that they have. Why does it only have to be Google Excel and Excel or Google Sheets and Sheets? And why does it have to be Google Word only in Google Word? Or
Contact Google. Contact Google. You've got a thing. It's recorded that you, like, and this is all over the place that you decided that. Yeah. Contact them. Say, this is my big idea. I want the millions for discovering that. It needs to happen. That's what you need to do.
It does need to happen because I don't know why Excel is so against Word. You know, what did Word ever do to Excel?
I don't know. But 11:03 a.m. on 12/28/2021, Tracy and Jon discovered that needs to happen.
That's a lot of
documented, guys.
Yep.
How convenient that would be. You're sitting there in your Google Sheets, you got your whole big spreadsheet, and all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, I need to write an email to somebody. I just want to quickly add it in there. Oh, this sheet thing is clunky for writing a little email clip. So I just need a little Word doc. I just want to click the button and put it right here in my sheets. I know.
Yeah, you know, I acted the whole thing out for you. I did the typing.
I saw that. You had the little animation going on.
You're brilliant. Make it happen.
All right.
Hey, Jon, do you want to contact Google or should I?
Do I want to what?
Contact Google or should I?
Oh, yeah, I have their number right here.
Oh, good. You can contact them then. Just copy me on it, okay?
Hold on, we have to say all of our closing stuff.
It's something about thanks for coming to the show today. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on the Facebooks. Come to our Fusion show. Thank you all the guests for being here. Thank you, Jon and Tracy, for having the show. What else am I missing?
Well, we have Epic on January 7th at 10 a.m., which is going to be epic. And then
It's
we
a
have
networking group.
Can you tell I've been cooped up for 10 days? I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
jokes are getting worse.
It's a branch of the Epic group. So we're Epic North. So not only will we have our own networking people attending our events, but we'll also be bringing in Epic's group. So good cross networking for that.
Cross thingy.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today on our show. And my teleprompter is off to the side, so I'm not going to make eye contact. Please help our community grow by reaching out and inviting at least one person who you feel will benefit from being a part of our journey. Please like and subscribe if you're on social. And this act goes a long way in our reach. And if you see something you like, please comment, and we will see you soon.
Excellent.
Good
Queenie
day,
wave.
everybody.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
everybody.
See you soon.
Have a happy and safe New Year, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Happy New Year.